Best Scenes Bay Window. Exterior, San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz Island, night. The ghostly, isolated image of Alcatraz Island adrift in the fog. Super, San Francisco, 1962. Interior, prison cell block, night. Prison guard makes the round. Flashlight illuminating dormant cells he passes. As the voice of wind-driven rain penetrates corridor walls. From inside a cell, a low scraping noise arises. Guard pauses, directs flashlight inside cell 1044, illuminating the head of a prisoner asleep. He sees a rat dart quickly from the light. Guard moves on. Prison rooftop. A rooftop vent slowly opens. Prisoner Frank Morris lifts himself through the opening, scans the darkness about him, impressed by the storm. He raises another prisoner, John Anglin, onto the roof with him. Together they help a third man, Anglin's brother, Clarence, through the opening. Clarence Anglin assists a fourth man, Sam Pierce, a young black prisoner, through the vent.
Where's West? Where the fuck's West?
Never made it out of his cell.
Moore's eyes pierce suspiciously, about to jump him. John Anglin cuts in, pointing across the rooftop.
Let's go.
The men uncover a stash of several deflated rubber raincoats, prison-issued, plywood paddles, life preserver, and a concertina, a small instrument that resembles a miniature accordion. Rooftop, various. The four prisoners race to the rooftop's lowest point, quietly lower themselves to the ground using a drainage pipe. Prison grounds. The men race across muddy grounds to scale a wall. Reaching the top, they see coils of barbed wire that have been snipped just enough so they can squeeze beneath. Morris and John Anglin drop to the other side, followed by Sam Pierce. But the wire snares Clarence Anglin's jersey. Anglin sees the men race away, fights to free his uniform, sees a searchlight approaching. Pierce sees what's happened, races back to help, searchlight nearing, tower guard scanning its path. Pierce frees Anglin just ahead of the searchlight. The two men race to catch up with the others. Prison exercise yard. The hard-breathing prisoners arrive at the base of a massive fence encircling exercise grounds, the island's steep rocky edge and choppy bay water visible beyond. They stare at an impossible task of scaling a 50-foot high fence crowned by coil upon coil of barbed wire without being spotted, all except Morris, who reaches into his shoe to remove keys, unlocks guard passage door, men hurrying through. Cliffs of Alcatraz. A steep, crumbling slope greets the men. Waves shatter against crags of rock, violent whitecaps, low, heavy fog hovering. The men scan the waters.
Not a goddamn thing.
Morris grabs Pierce.
Now we got no choice.
Pierce stands frozen, staring at the sea. Clarence Anglin tries to pull Pierce along. Pierce doesn't budge. Morris charges down the cliffs. Anglin brothers make the sign of the cross, follow Morris's path. Each man in turn loses his balance, sliding and tumbling to a small patch of shore before the raging bay. Shore. Morris uses the concertina to inflate a makeshift raft, roughly 6 feet wide by 14 feet long. The men drag the raft into the water, taking a look back to see that Pierce has disappeared. Bay waters. The three prisoners struggle to steer the raft beyond the breakers. A sweeping tide makes progress difficult. Raft battered and tossed, men quickly drained of energy. Morris abandons disintegrating raft, begins a frantic swim. Anglin brothers follow. The men's limbs quickly weary in the numbing water, forceful tide. The swimmers begin to choke and drown. When a small fishing boat appears from the fog, fishing net thrown from the boat to which the men desperately cling. Interior prison corridor, morning. Older guard takes morning head count, prisoners waking, dressing for morning call. Guard stopped at cell 1044, observes the slumbering body.
Morris, answer up. Morris. I said, answer up. Answer up in there.
Guard grabs his keys. Inside cell, guard stands over the prisoner's bunk.
Need a wake-up call?
Guard raises his club, lets it fall hard upon the inmate's back. Follows it with another blow. The inmate's head rolls off the bed, tumbles to floor. After a moment, the stunned guard picks up the head, a fine papier-mâché sculpture. A second guard races into cell, finds guard uncovering a hole in cell's rear, where a cardboard piece painted to appear like a grill leads to a ventilation duct.
We got 2 more missing.
Sam Pierce's cell. Pierce mournfully watches guards race past his cell as prisoners rant and celebrate the escape. He spots a rat nibbling on cardboard piece painted like grill in rear of his cell, hurries to replace it with real one, hidden inside the ventilation duct. Exterior, present day, San Francisco, straight morning. Sharp morning sunlight falls on a man carrying 2 suitcases up the impossibly steep grade of a typical San Francisco hill. Walter Jarrett crosses cable car tracks to reach the crest where a large Victorian structure stands. He sets the cases down, patting his pockets. As he smokes, he turns around to ingest a view of the glistening bay, span of Bay Bridge, Treasure Island, and Berkeley Hills. Before he adjusts his sight to the Victorian, to a bay window on top floor. Standing behind the broad, bowed window, a beautiful young lady faces a westerly view. The Marin headlands, Golden Gate Bridge, and dark blue body of water spreading to horizon of the Pacific Ocean. Interior, apartment flat, morning. At the wide open doorway, Walter pauses, seeing an apartment void of anything except for the young lady. Morgan Jarrett hasn't moved from her position.
Where's a man supposed to hang his hat?
She comes to hug him.
You'll have to hold it, at least till the movers arrive.
When's that?
Supposedly yesterday, like you.
Had a feeling the Abernathy case would hold me up.
Was I right?
Walter shakes his head no to her surprise.
Gail Abernathy was in her husband's car at the time she died, which only makes it possible.
Oh, the niece.
Never paint your nails just before or after murdering someone.
His expression causes her to laugh. They kiss more.
At least you're in time for the big night.
The grand announcement?
You'll have to wait and see, like the rest of us.
I only get tuxed up for candidates, you know.
You won't be wearing anything unless the movers show.
Walter pops open a suitcase of summery clothes.
Is that really all you have?
Goodbye, Boston. Hello, California. Thought it was supposed to be hot here. Speaking of which,
You'll have to hold the thought.
been holding it for 3,000 miles.
Morgan spins westward to invite Walter a look at the view.
You haven't said anything. Well, can I pick a place or what?
She reads his expression as he gazes around.
It's part of the expense account.
It's perfect, except for the view. Thought we agreed to find one of a red brick alleyway, so we wouldn't get homesick.
Doorbell buzzer sounds, old and electric, causing Walter to jump.